Look. New spring grass.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live from Clearwooder, Florida, home of Philadelphia Phillies spring training. This is going to be a special episode of Baseball by Design. I'm going to be taking you through a 3-day trip that I'm taking with my brother and his family and Ranger Amy Burnett, who you all know from the Baseball by Design podcast, Baseball by Design's wildlife correspondent, Ranger Amy Burnett. It is a beautiful day here right now. Day one of this amazing baseball road trip. We're going to be here for 3 days, 2 days in Clearwater and then 1 day in Lakeland. And it's going to be amazing. So I hope you enjoy tagging along for a couple of days of spring training. Just wanted to share this experience, a unique baseball experience that I hope every baseball fan gets to have someday. Here we go, spring training 2025. All right, it's day one of the spring training trip here. First up on the docket, my sister-in-law, Jody. And the reason, Jody, that I wanted to talk to you first is because this trip is born of a plan that we had 5 years ago where we were going to surprise my big brother, Dave. You all were doing a spring training trip, and I was going to surprise you all and meet here. And, of course, it was upended by COVID. Tell us about that trip that we were supposed to do 5 years ago.
We had completely planned the trip. We had flights and hotels, game tickets, everything. It was all set for you to surprise us by showing up. Well, to surprise Dave.
Yeah, you and I arranged the surprise.
We were in on it.
Yeah.
But as things were getting worse, we were keeping an eye on whether this trip might be in danger, and in fact it was the first great disappointment of the pandemic because we were scheduled to go March 21st of 2020, and I still have the email canceling our flight.
Oh my God.
In like earlier March of 2020.
Yeah.
So that trip did not happen.
I remember I had just dropped my daughter off at school. You called me and you said, I have this great idea. We're going to spring training. And, I'm not going to tell Dave. We'll talk to Dave later on in this trip here. But here we are now. It's an amazing, sunny baseball day here. It's the third inning. The Phillies are up 2-0 on the Yankees. There's palm trees, there's sunshine, there's cheesesteaks, there's beer. It's perfect. You all woke up at 4 o'clock this morning to fly down here, so it's a little hard to believe we're sitting here at a ball game in Florida and you woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's real commitment right there.
I'd say.
So tell me about the day that you've had so far.
We arrived at the airport around 5:30 this morning.
In Philly.
We breezed right through security, got to our gate, and we saw lots of people in both Phillies gear and Eagles gear.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. And once we were seated on the plane, I started keeping track of how many I saw dressed in Phillies gear and how many in Eagles gear. And this was from the point that we were seated, so I didn't get everyone on the plane. But the numbers I saw, 14 in Phillies gear, 11 in Eagles gear.
We've seen quite a bit of Eagles gear here at the ballpark as well.
That seems fair.
Yeah, right. The Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles, of course. We're certainly going to see them. Is this your first spring training experience ever?
It's my first Phillies spring training.
Oh, okay.
Experience. We attended some spring training in Arizona, along with a family trip to the Grand Canyon.
So this is your first Florida spring training trip?
Correct.
Okay, all right. It's a little early yet, but do you have any point of comparison? Is it any pluses or minuses either way?
This feels best.
Good answer.
It's fun to see the home team. I can't remember who we saw in Arizona, but they weren't the teams we were rooting for. So
we are here with 2/3 of your children, 100% of your husband. It's going to be an amazing few days. We've arranged for an awesome place to stay, a Verbo. Oh, you just had a cheesesteak. You live in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, obviously right outside of Philly, so definitely cheesesteak territory. What did you think of the cheesesteak here, the Delco cheesesteak?
This was solid.
Yeah.
We live in Delco, so I mean, I would say it was definitely worthy.
Absolutely. Well, Jody, thank you for all of your help arranging this. As you know, this is about as happy as I can be right now.
I can see that.
So looking forward to a few more days of baseball and palm trees and beaches and cheesesteaks and beers and some seafood. It's going to be a great week.
It is.
All right. Thanks, Jody.
You're welcome.
All right. I am running into, for the second time ever, Garrett Stubbs' father, T-Pat.
That happens.
It's amazing. The last time we met, it was during the playoffs a couple of years ago in Arizona. I saw that you were wearing a Stubbs jersey, and I said, I like your Stubbs jersey, and you bought me a beer.
And I'd do it again, but you got a full one.
I already have my beer here. Tell me about, just being here at spring training, watching your son play.
You know what? Being here at spring training is absolutely fantastic. We were just nobody does it quite like Clearwater. And look at the Phillies fans. They are everywhere. We're having a good time here. It's warm out. We head out tomorrow to go watch CJ play, our other son, over in West Palm Beach.
That's amazing. You must be super proud.
Life is good.
This is incredible right here. Just in terms of like following your son's trajectory through the Phillies, I really enjoy watching him. I commented on your jersey in Arizona. One of my favorite things is he's such a great bunter. Where did he learn how to bunt so well?
Well, he walks to the plate wanting to hit a home run every time, and Tony Gwynn taught him that, when you just get on base, good things will happen. So he knows how to move runners across, and he knows how to get on base. So,
as a parent, what's the pressure like for you? Do you get nervous every time he comes up to bat, or are you over that? You've been watching him his whole life.
I get to sit in the stands and have a beer and watch my kid play baseball.
It's pretty amazing. Well, I wanted to thank you again just for A, for buying the beer, B, for raising such a great ball player, and C, being so approachable and being so much fun. I saw you, we were in line getting a beer, and I was like, that's Garrett Stubbs' dad. I'm going to go say hi. So I appreciate you being willing to say hi on the podcast.
Thanks for coming by and saying hello to me.
It was nice to see you again.
And root for the little guy.
Go Phils, go Garrett Stubbs.
All right.
Thank you. All right, it's still day one. Still a beautiful, beautiful Thursday afternoon. Oh, look at your boy Nick Castellanos.
Let's go.
An opposite field single for Nick Castellanos.
That was a horrible throw.
So Ranger Amy, we're here at spring training again, except it's Florida.
I know, this is great.
I haven't been to spring training in Florida for 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
You and I have been to spring training in Arizona a bunch recently.
Yeah.
We've been in this ballpark though. We saw Clearwater Threshers game a couple of years ago.
Yeah. We've seen minor league games in Florida, just not
The ball was coming right at us. Foul ball coming right at us.
spring training games.
Right. So here we are. Brandon Marsh is batting. Phil's have a 4-2 lead.
Oh my
Fifth
God, with the
inning.
girl's hair.
Brandon Marsh. It's not gross. It's just wet.
I know, but it just looks gross every time he gets up. He does have my favorite number though, 16.
First of all, just your impressions of spring training. Why is it meaningful to you? What do you enjoy about this?
Spring training was never part of my sort of growing up experience of baseball, so this is sort of new in my later years, so to speak, in life as an Arizonan, a prior Arizonan, and so I went to a lot of spring training games in Arizona. It's pretty fun. So getting to go to spring training in Florida, it's pretty great. Yeah, and I'm going to see my first Red Sox spring training game tomorrow.
You've never seen the Red Sox play spring training,
I never have.
even though that's the team you grew up rooting for.
It is.
Even though you have somewhat transitioned to Phillies fandom
I'm kind of more of a Phillies fan by association.
in
now.
recent years
Sorry, Dad.
by osmosis. Are there any differences that you notice right away between Arizona and Florida?
The humidity.
Yeah?
I know. No, I think it's more of a hometown feel here. In Arizona, everyone's just there to drink and have a good time. It doesn't seem so much about, like reminiscing about your childhood and where you're actually from. So you've been asked, like, where are you from? And I've been I think that's the difference, is that it's a lot of, like, hey, we're having some cheesesteaks and we're sort of recreating a little Philly down here.
This does feel like Philly South in like a big way, right?
Philly
like
South, yeah.
the cheesesteaks, the Wawa signs, the Yingling beer.
Yeah.
The Fanatic was out here earlier. And everyone, there are definitely some Yankees fans here, right? Because that's going to happen in spring training. But it is a huge Philly vibe right here, for sure.
Yeah.
And so I agree with that 100%.
I have to say, it's really fun to be rooting against the Yankees and having these great seats.
We have really good seats. We're right behind.
There are a couple people behind us cheering for the Yankees.
We're right behind the first base dugout.
So many Phillies
We're
fans.
just about to get into the part of the game where like the AA players come in, the guys with the numbers in the 70s.
But the Yankees have been playing their high number guys this whole time.
It's true. A lot of their starters didn't make the trip with.
Oh, look at that.
Look it out. Oh. Yay! You got there. That is, and Mundo Sosa legging out an infield single right there to load the bases with nobody out. We got something cooking here.
He ran so fast his hat fell off.
It's, one interesting thing that happens in Florida as compared to Arizona is that here, as you mentioned, this is a spring training ballpark, but it's also a minor league ballpark.
Yeah.
In Arizona, they are not minor league ballparks.
No.
So
They're just used only that time of year.
they're used at spring training. So we've been here. How different does it feel being here now for a spring training game as compared to when we were here a couple of years ago for a Clearwater Threshers game?
Oh, completely different. I mean, the Thrasher game was, I have to say, it was, there weren't as many people here. It felt like more of an excuse to sort of get out and enjoy baseball and drink. And this feels more like, okay, we're sort of ramping up for the year. What are the Phillies going to do this year? And people are already invested. Even though it's spring training, you can already tell they're invested.
There's still a buzz
There's a buzz.
in Philly sports fandom right now over the Super Bowl that just happened. Another thing, okay, last question here because this is kind of cool. I just spoke with Garrett Stubbs' dad, and that was fun. Garrett Stubbs is on deck right now.
I was so happy to see Garrett Stubbs' dad here. That was so cool. He's kind of what a great guy, just like down to earth, just like having a great time, proud of his son.
Catcher Garrett Stubbs.
Here's Garrett Stubbs.
Here he goes. So I've already seen him come home twice already. So
Garrett
he's having
Stubbs.
a great day.
Garrett Stubbs has scored twice already.
It's kind of great.
Now he's batting with the
I feel
bases
like
loaded and one out.
I feel like I'm sort of becoming a Garrett Stubbs fan now.
I hope T-Pat enjoys this at bat.
Yeah, watching him come home.
Foul ball. So Cody Clemens, you watched his dad play as a Red Sox fan, and now here he is, fighting for a roster spot with the Phillies. What's that like to see a guy who? Come on,
gosh.
Garrett, leg that out.
That was a double play right there. Got
Yeah.
Cody out, unfortunately. But it was kind of cool. I never thought, when I was 13 years old, seeing Roger Clemens play at Fenway, I never thought, hey, someday I'm going to see his son play at a spring training game. That's kind of cool. It's kind of surreal. I like it. I'm going to have to go home and text my dad and be like, I saw Roger Clemens' son play at a spring training game.
We have a developing situation here. We better hop off.
All right.
The fanatic is out here on his four-wheeler with a hot dog gun. So we're going to jump off. Ranger Amy, looking forward to the rest of the week.
Bye.
Here we are well into day two. I guess I say well into day two. There hasn't been a run scored yet. It's the bottom of the second inning. We still got all the regulars in. Max Kepler batting for the Phillies. I'm here with my niece, Sabrina, who is 20-something, 23, 23-year-old, the oldest of the Caputo cousins. Your second ever spring training game, am I right?
It's true. Yesterday was the first.
Yesterday was your first ever spring training game. We got here early today. We got here about an hour before the game, which was awesome. Oh, there's a foul ball coming right at us. How did you use the time before the game?
I got some Mac and Manco's pizza, which is called Manco and Manco's,
Yeah.
but not to me.
No, it's like the Sears Tower. They try to tell you it's something else now, but it's always going to be Mac and Manco, not
Yeah.
Mango and Manco.
Oh yeah. And Twitter.
Right.
I got a shirt. My mom
Oh.
and I browsed the merch.
Okay. Yesterday's guest, your mom Jody.
Yes,
Batting
yes,
six,
yes.
number 10,
And we just did a lap around the field.
Catcher
We pointed out all of the cute babies in baseball hats. I
Wow.
really like when babies wear baseball hats because no matter how small the hat is, it still looks giant on their tiny heads.
That's cute. I forgot to start this interview with the official greeting, by the way, of Go Birds, Go Phils.
Oh, go Birds, go Phils.
Yeah, we are. We're in the sort of Philadelphia sports fandom mode right now, coming off an exciting Super Bowl championship. You were there for the big Super Bowl party at your dad's house. We'll talk to your dad later on in this episode. Obviously, a much more relaxed atmosphere here. You've been to regular season games, playoff games, all that sort of thing. What's your take of the relaxed atmosphere here in spring training?
I like how it feels more like a minor league baseball game with it being a little more chill, a little less yelling at the players, which I like. I always feel a little bad for them when we start yelling at them. But still with players I recognize, so try to get the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. We went out to the berm yesterday. Right now we're hanging out here in these awesome seats right behind the third base dugout. What's your feeling there? Do you prefer the berm, hanging out in the grass and the sunshine, or do you like being close to the action?
Well, as a young woman with a similar complexion to you, I think
Fellow ginger.
We can both agree that these shady seats are perhaps a little healthier for us.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was nice out there in the sun. Yeah, I couldn't last more than 20 minutes out there without getting burns and to not have to think about that.
This is like an iconic walk-up song here for Bryson Stott. Oh, we gotta sing it? A-O-A-O-K. That's one of the most singable, alongable. That's Bryson Stott. What about, speaking of the relaxed environment here, maybe you would like to regale our listeners with the story of getting out of the parking lot yesterday.
Oh, that was a fun one. So we're all leaving, we're piled up in our rental minivan, windows down, and there's an order to things. There's one gate where everyone's leaving, we're all kind of queued up for our turn to get out the gate. And there is a large empty space of field, and if it had just been madness and everyone had been crowding towards the gate, that would have been one thing. But we had all agreed, as is the order of things.
Because we live in a society here.
We live in a society with rules.
Right.
Once the rules have been established, we follow the rules.
Right.
We were in a line. However, one man in a convertible believed the rules didn't apply to him, and he cut across the field. And so,
Number 16, Brandon Marsh.
as is the Philadelphia way, we had to prevent the gank.
Right. Prevent the gank.
Prevent the gank, exactly. So we're riding the bumper of the car before us so we don't let him in because he's a cheater and he's wrong. But he sensed that's what we were doing, and he got pretty close to us, and you said, "Oh, this is a rental car and I've got the insurance." And we all laughed at him, and he goes, "Oh, I don't care." And then so we didn't let him in, prevented him from ganking. But then we ended up right next to him in the 2-lane road right outside the stadium. And you could tell he had been coming up with this comeback the entire time. Because then he comes up right next to us and he goes, "Well, I'm a multimillionaire, so I'll just buy a new car." I think he thought we were owned, but instead we all just laughed at him again.
Yeah. He was in his convertible by himself, yelling at a van full of people having fun. That he was a multi-millionaire, and that's become a running gag ever since then.
Exactly, so. And in his mind, he probably did win.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
I want to hear him tell this story now. Maybe we'll find him here today. Maybe he's here today. Yeah. We could interview him again.
That'd be lovely.
Yeah, that would be great. So, well, Sabrina, it's a pleasure to be here. The Caputo family trip is finally happening all these years later, and
I wasn't going to be on the first
when we first planned this one 5 years ago, you weren't going to be here because you were in college. You were a college gal right now. So
I've got not a thing to do.
So I'm not going to ask everybody this question this week here, but you're something of a social media influencer. So what do you do on social media? Where can people find you?
You can find me on TikTok and Instagram and Etsy at Savvy Stitch. SABBY, as in Sabrina, Savvy Stitch. I do crochet and knit content all over the internet.
Amazing. You've become something of an influencer, so everyone should go check out Savvy Stitch. My niece Sabrina.
TikTok pays me my 50 cents per video.
We just saw, by the way, a challenge, a strikeout on a challenged ball strike pitch. I'm a huge fan of that. Oh, it's a successful challenge. Oh,
You got to re-record
it was
that.
the catcher challenge. I wasn't paying attention because I was talking to Sabrina.
It was far more interesting.
I have to say, one of my favorite things about this ballpark is the Wawa ad down the right field line.
Yeah.
So.
My favorite one actually, you see over there, it's Carlos consuming fire hot sauce.
Amazing. All right, Sabrina, thank you.
Thank you,
Go
Uncle
Phils.
Paul.
Go Phils, go Birds. I'm at the Philadelphia Water Ice Station right now. John, you're serving up Italian water ice in ice cream helmets. You've got them in Threshers helmets, you got Phillies helmets. Are people choosing the Phillies helmets or the Threshers helmets?
It's pretty well balanced. I mean, most of the Phillies fans have already got, a lot of the Phillies fans have already got the Philly helmets. So it's an added treat to get the minor league helmet and get the Threshers helmet. Plus, they actually provide like five different models of these.
Oh yeah.
5 different logos. They put them out each different week. So see me next week, I'll have a different one.
Different Phillies helmets next week.
Yeah,
all right,
maybe
that's cool.
camo.
What's the most popular flavor?
Mango.
Mango is. Oh, I went with 1 blueberry and 2 lemon here. So, all right, John, thank you so much.
You're welcome, man.
All right, Ranger Amy.
Hello.
Hello. We are back. It's day 2. We're in the 7th inning. We're watching your former team. I guess we can call it former team, the Boston Red Sox. You grew up in New Hampshire, rooting for the Red Sox, and now here you are wearing Phillies gear.
I normally say, do I have to choose? But in this case, I did.
In this case, you had to choose, and because you were here with me, you chose the Phillies.
I did.
And
Yes.
here with my family.
And you bought me a shirt. Thank you.
We got here an hour early.
Yep.
We saw Aoyagi-san pitch.
Yep.
It didn't go great at first, but then he weaseled his way out of a jam. He only gave up 1 run with the bases loaded, nobody out, and got a couple of strikeouts. So he's our Japanese player. We wore Hanshin Tiger stuff, and we went.
said, go Tigers.
We said go Tigers,
and you looked up and just sort of like nodded and then went back to what he's doing.
he gave us a little wave from the bullpen. So
Yeah, it was very nice.
it was fun. It was fun to see him pitch here. Phillies just got out of the top of the 7th here. We're gonna hop off here. It's a beautiful afternoon. Glad we're here. We got our spent a ton of money at the gift store. I'm drinking my free refill of my soda in my plastic cup. Got the helmet sundae. Everything's good.
It's all good.
Phils are down 4-2, by the way. I mean, in so much as that matters, it's spring training.
I don't really care.
It's still February. All right, fans are on their feet with 2 outs in the top of the 9th. Pitch is a ball. The Phillies are out of challenges, so we cannot challenge that. I'm a huge fan of the challenge play. All right, full count. Tying run at the plate. Phils are up 7-4. This is going to be the biggest Philadelphia win over Boston since Super Bowl 52. Here comes the pitch. Oh, he walked up. All right. Well, now the bases are loaded. Everyone's going to sit back down. All right, we're sitting down again, everybody. Well, that was fun. All right. We're back to a 2-strike count here. We got a pitcher named Jack Dallas pitching right now. 2-2 count, 7-5. Jack Dallas walked in a run. Game 2, a little less certain now. Oh, strike 3! Phillies win! The fans let out a huge sigh of relief. Phillies win the game.
1-0-1.
What a game, what a game. We'll do it again tomorrow. Spring training is the best. And also, Tom Brady is a bad commentator. This is the tradition after Phillies wins of playing Harry Callis's High Hopes. This is the part of the song that nobody knows the lyrics. La, 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 la. Another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Land. There you go. Bills win. All right, it's day 3. We're not yet at the ball game. We're on the way to Lakeland to see the Phillies take on the Tigers at Joker Marchant Stadium, home of the Lakeland Flying Tigers during the regular season. And I'm just jumping in real quick to identify one of the major differences between Florida spring training and Arizona spring training, which is that the ballparks are a lot more spread out here in Florida. There's a lot more driving between ballparks if you want to follow one team. Big brother Dave is here with me, part of this trip. It's just Dave and my nephew Matthew and me. Big brother Dave, nephew Matthew. Go Birds!
Go Birds!
Dave, how would you summarize the situation right now as we're trying to drive through Tampa on our way from Clearwooder to Joker Marchant Stadium?
I'd say the cost-benefit analysis is being, I think we're recycling it in my mind a little bit. I think when we initially thought that this was an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, it was very clearly worth the trip to go see a bunch of Phillies players sort of at the edge of the 40-man roster.
Yeah.
I'd say as the Waze ETA creeps closer to an hour and a half and a little higher, a day on the beach not watching spring training baseball is sounding like it might have been a plausible alternative.
There's lots to do in Florida, that's for sure. But hey, once we get there, we're going to get to see Aiden Miller play.
Yes.
So there's, we'll get to see some of the prospects.
Yeah.
I am seeing how come maybe like Bryce Harper and Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber are not on the team bus right now on their way to Lakeland, because this is traffic's a little bit assy. Matthew, you still glad we're doing it?
I am. I'm glad. I'm excited to see Rojas and Sosa. And it's an adventure. We're battling through this traffic, and I think we're going to be happy once we make it.
I think we are. We're going to check in from the game, but just figured since we're trying to capture the full Florida spring training experience, it was worth doing this. The women are not with us here for this portion. They are back on the beach today. Sister-in-law Jody, niece Sabrina, Ranger Amy Burnett, Baseball by Design wildlife correspondent. Anyhow, they're back at the beach. We're on our way to Lakeland. 3rd game in 3 days. We'll see you there at the ballpark. All right, we're walking up to the ballpark right now.
We made it.
We just parked in somebody's yard, and it's pretty good. Dave got some apple cake.
It's delicious.
Delicious apple cake from the fine community members here in Lakeland. Oh, the national anthem is playing. We'll be right back. All right, it's 3rd inning here. It's nothing for now anyway. We got Tyler Phillips pitching, which means I think it's about to not be nothing anymore. But here with my nephew Matthew, Matt the Bat, they call him. Matthew, go Birds.
Go Birds.
This is, you have been to some of the most iconic sporting moments in Philadelphia sports history. Most recently, you were at the NFC Championship game where the Eagles beat the Commanders. You've been to World Series games. You've seen Philadelphia sports teams clinch championships.
That's right. No world championships yet, but hopefully one day.
All
Just
right.
NL and NFC.
All right. The point is, you've seen some pretty amazing Philadelphia sports moments. Really intense, really high pressure, really like a lot of anxiety. Coming down here to spring training, is it like a welcome relief for you? Is it is it nice to watch a sporting event without having the stakes quite so high?
Yes, it's very welcome. Yeah, the past 3 sporting events I've been to, Philly sporting events, excluding one pretty chill Flyers game, whereas the Eagles playoff game against the Packers and against the NFC Championship against the Commanders, like you said, and obviously it's lots of fun, but you're also biting your fingernails throughout the entire thing, and it's sort of hard to relax. So yeah, this is very welcome relief. I'm having a blast just sitting here, being able to enjoy the sport, so yeah, no, it's very welcome.
So you may not fully recollect this, but when you were little, you and your dad and I, and your cousins, Olivia and Maya, we went to 2 spring training games in the same day out in Arizona.
Yep.
But, this is Philadelphia spring training. How's it taking you so long to get down here? I feel like with all the sporting events you've been to, that you'd have been to this one by now.
I know, we should have gotten down here last year. Yeah, this is something completely different from anything we've done before. Like, this is awesome. The games at Clearwater were a blast. And yeah, we've been waiting a long time to get down here, so I'm really glad to
Second
do it.
baseman,
One more year
25,
before I head off to college.
Torres.
And yeah, this was definitely something I'm glad to get in before I go off.
I should say age 17, Matthew. So you can be our designated driver, which is great. So you sort of got into it a little bit, but your overall impressions. What were your expectations coming down here? What is the spring training experience been like for you?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect just from who we were going to see on the field, but we got super lucky. Day one, we saw Wheeler on the bump. Now we're here. We just watched Nola throw a couple innings, so that was pretty fun. But no, I was not really expecting to see any ABs from Harper or Schwarber or any of those guys, and we got to see them. Harper got 2 hits, day 2, and yeah, no, it's lived up to my expectations. The ballpark in Clearwater is super fun, and it feels like sort of that minor league baseball environment that's a lot of fun, different from the Phillies games. And yeah, it's a blast.
One of the things I've noticed here, this is Tyler Phillips giving up runs, which is what Tyler Phillips does. Yeah. So, all right, this is a good moment to talk about this, right? It's an exhibition game. It's practice. It's guys who are likely not to be on the roster, some of them anyway, come end of March. But still wearing the laundry, right? Still wearing that Phillies uniform. How much do you care? Like, how much does that hurt right there? That a 1-out single drives in a runner from second base. The Phillies are losing now.
Yeah, I have to say, I can't turn off the switch that once the switch in me that wants everything that Philly sports does to be a win. But no, I can sort of sit back and relax and not throw a fit that we're down 1-0 here. It was definitely a little different watching a 7-7 tie on day one.
I was going to ask you about that. How did that feel, watching the game end in a tie?
It felt weird. It felt unnatural. I didn't really know what to think about all that. Like back in like T-ball days, yeah, every game was a tie.
One of the players who we have seen here is Koyo Aoyagi, the Japanese pitcher. And in Japan, if they go 12 innings and it's still a tie, they end regular season games as a tie.
Is that right? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that would not fly in Philly.
Yeah, no, that's true. One of the things we've been seeing in spring training, it's been in the minors for a little while here, the ball strike pitch challenge. What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah.
I think that the umps don't like it. That's for darn sure. But no, it's cool to see. Some of them, I mean, we just watched one in the first inning, I believe that was Stubbs, and the ball caught literally all of the plate. There was not any part of the ball that was not in the strike zone. And I think it's a right. I think that pitch should have been called a strike, and I think it's cool. There's a lot of strategy that could play into it too. I would certainly like to see it in the regular season. I think it could play a huge factor in super big moments. Yeah, I like it.
I think it's on the way. I think we're going to see it. Yeah. You were a senior in high school, and the baseball season's getting ready to start up here, and you are likely going to be starting at second base for your high school team.
Hopefully.
You were watching some of the training sessions, some of the fielding drills going on out beyond the field yesterday before the game.
Yeah.
Did you pick anything up? Did you get a sense for like what the instruction is like at this level?
Yeah, it's beyond what we're working on. They seem to be working on sort of how to get up from diving for a baseball. They seem to be working on the fitness of rolling on the ground, which is not something we do every day in practice. But no, it was cool to watch. They're definitely at a different level up here.
Wenzel Perez.
All right, last thing. What has your favorite concession been here at spring training? Keeping in mind, we have not yet hit the concession stands here at Joker Marchant Stadium,
I'm not sure where we're
home of the Lakeland Flying Tigers.
I'm not sure we're going to get here today, but I would say, actually, the cheesesteak on day one down here in Clearwater, Florida from Delco's.
Yeah.
That is my number one concession.
The Delco cheesesteak was no joke. It was a good approximation. So I have to say, my favorite thing that I've eaten here the whole week, ball game or otherwise, got a Wawa hoagie at midnight on the way in. So it's always glad to get the Wawa hoagie. All right, Matt the Bat, we may hear from you again. Oh, we had a fake a fake steal attempt there, trying to draw the Phils into a pickle, but no luck.
Phillips kept a calm head there.
Phillips kept his cool, or he didn't notice. One of those two things. So, all right, Matt the Bat, I'm sure we'll hear from you again later on in the game. There's a little flare. Oh, boy. Got it. Okay. Only one run. That could have been a lot worse. Let's go get something to eat, Matthew.
Thank you.
All right, go Birds.
Go Birds.
All right, we're in the 7th inning. Still 1-0. Big brother Dave, go Birds.
Go Birds.
This is your second appearance on the Baseball by Design podcast. You were on as a Duke alum. You were on the Durham Bulls episode. How's life been since your first appearance on Baseball by Design?
That really changed everything for me.
It really did.
That was a watershed moment in my life.
It is called the Baseball by Design bump.
A lot of people recognized me on the street and when I went out in public, but things have sort of gotten back to normal now. But life's been good.
They hear that voice and they're like, wait a minute, where do I know that voice from? Same question that I had for Matthew. You've been to a lot of high-pressure Philadelphia sporting events, but this is something you haven't gotten around to. Yeah. It's a rite of passage for sports fans, for baseball fans, to get to spring training. What do you think now that you're here?
I can't believe it has taken me almost 54 years to get here. This is truly a baseball paradise down here. It is. It's really cool to see some of the big names, of course, in a slightly more casual environment, but also really cool to see some of the minor leaguers and the kids on their way up, and just to be around a bunch of people who love baseball and are here for the love of the game in a cool environment. So glad we finally made it. Should have happened a few years ago. It's a shame it didn't, but this is glad we made it happen this year.
Yeah, it's 5 years in the making for us here. For me, it's been a long time since I've been to Philly spring training, more than 30 years. We've had seats on the infield for all 3 of these games, and in all 3 instances, you've sort of led the charge out to the berm. We're on the berm right now. What's the thinking? What do you like about the berm?
Definitely here at Lakeland Stadium, it is just sort of a much more relaxed and casual and festive atmosphere. And at the Philly Stadium,
number 85,
I like the Philly Stadium better. It's much more of a party the way the stadium is set up. But here in particular, it just seems much more relaxed, much more sort of the environment you want in the spring training game. Just chill, people having a good time, kids running around chasing foul balls or balls being thrown by the outfielders, and I like it out here.
We saw a serious melee over here. It was like a pile of kids being pulled off each other like a fumble in the NFL. It was that was pretty wild.
Yeah, like I said, much more. It was probably more violent than the tush push run by the Eagles. Equal chance of injury, I think.
You're wearing this is controversial. You're wearing Eagles gear to the game today. Obviously we're at a Phillies game.
Yeah.
Controversial decision to wear Eagles gear to the Phillies game, football gear to a baseball game. However, we have seen Flyers gear. We saw one guy wearing an Edmonton Oilers hat. We've seen all sorts of minor league baseball gear. What was your thinking choosing your Eagles t-shirt today?
A couple of reasons. First of all, because we're here with a bunch of Detroit fans, I figure there's a lot of Lions fans. A lot of Lions fans who thought they'd be cheering their Super Bowl winning team. And so it's a little bit of a dig, a little bit of just a way to, get a little jab in. But the other reason is, you don't get championships in Philadelphia that often.
That's true.
Like, really not that often at all. And so when it happens, you've got to make full use of it. You got to enjoy it. We're still in the afterglow. In fact, I didn't even tell you this, but while we stepped away, there was a guy who came up to me and he said, 3 weeks ago tomorrow, the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Holy crap.
And I said, it's been a pretty great 3 weeks. He said, yes, it has been. So that's why.
I was saying that too earlier, that like for a baseball team that just got eliminated in the playoffs by its arch rival, the New York Mets.
Yep.
The vibe among Philadelphia sports fans is pretty good here at these games. We were at dinner last night. This is one of my favorite things. We were at dinner last night, and the Eagles chant, the Eagles fight song broke out.
Yep.
We asked someone to take our picture, and by the end of exchanging picture taking with them, we were all saying "Go Birds" and chanting Eagles. So the Philadelphia sports vibe right now here is really fun for sure.
We've gotten some Go Birds here at the stadium today, and it's fantastic. So that's why. I'm not sure I'd wear an Eagles shirt to a regular season game. Probably not. unless maybe the Phillies are sort of out of contention in September and it's already Eagles season. But I think for a spring training game, it's perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely. All right, so we've gotten to see some fun prospects here. You've commented on Aiden Miller a couple of times. Who have you enjoyed seeing who you wouldn't maybe have necessarily expected to?
Well, we saw a guy yesterday hit, or maybe it was the first day. That guy was Kroon, I think was his last name. Looks like a career.
Oh, Kroon.
Yeah. Career minor leaguer, Matt Kroon. Yeah, 29-year-old guy. May never see the major leagues, but he put 2 out yesterday, and he did it in front of the GM of the Phillies and the manager, and in front of a bunch of big leaguers. So that must have been a pretty cool day for him. The guy playing left field right now for the Phillies, Crawford, is another up-and-comer, probably their second-ranked position prospect. So hoping to see him get a couple ABs. But they're not hitting very much right now. The regulars aren't hitting very much at all. So it's been the young guys who've actually put more of the runs on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will happen again today.
All right, last question. Overall, outside the sort of sporting here, we've been staying on Clearwater Beach.
Yep.
And going to some fun restaurants, enjoying the Gulf.
Yep.
What do you think about you're a regular at the Jersey Shore, so like going to the beach, sort of vacation stuff is sort of de rigueur for you. What's the
de rigueur? Wow.
Yeah, you like that?
Man, French on this podcast too, huh? That's amazing.
What about the overall spring training experience?
Well, we were just commenting about all the different all the different hats and jerseys you see. Obviously, just people who love baseball, like just being down here. It's great. Like back home, we're going to be flying back to, I think it's going to be 28 degrees, I think Matthew said when we land. So the weather's pretty nice. But no, I've always heard of Clearwater Beach is, in addition, the Phillies have a great stadium there, but it's also a great place to visit in its own right. So that's probably one of the reasons why it's such a rite of passage for Phillies fans to come down here and go to spring training, because it's a beautiful spot.
If it weren't for the palm trees, I would forget we were in Florida. It's like all Phillies fans. It's Philly South for sure.
It's cool.
So, well, Big Brother Dave, thanks for making this happen. You were the driving force behind making this happen, and there's no chance that any of the women are going to be listening to this. So what do we think about the fact that it's us 3 dudes here at the game?
I think it's really the way it should have been. But I hope there's definitely no chance they're going to be listening to this.
No, there's no way they're listening to this. Nah. They're sending us pictures of their toes in the sand.
Yes. And now I know earlier we were commenting on the traffic, and I was questioning whether it was really worth it, and now I'm sorry I even ever questioned it. It was definitely worth it to get here and see one more spring training game while we're down here. So,
here we are. Go Phils, go Birds.
Go Birds, go Phils.
All right, we're at dinner. We're wrapping up here. Game 3 is over. The Phillies lost 1-0 after getting 1 hit. So the Phillies on our 3-day trip went 1-1-1. As Big Brother Dave said, we had a split squad today. We had the men went to the game, the women stayed back and did their thing. Guys, we're all wrapped up here. This is the final countdown. Any final thoughts from anyone?
Oh yes, I had a very comprehensive final thought.
Oh yeah.
Baseball.
Baseball? Somebody said baseball? Dave?
We were just saying how fast the weekend went. We got here 3 days ago, and it has flown.
Well, speaking of flying, go Birds? Go Birds!
I thought we were going to sing it. Not going to sing it?
Dave wants to sing. Go Phils, go Birds. Hey, let's go have a Studio Simon Stumper with Dan Simon. This has been fun. All right, everyone, welcome back. I am back in Colorado. The spring training trip is over. It is time once again for Studio Simon Stumpers with designer extraordinaire Dan Simon of Studio Simon. Dan, good morning. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
I'm sorry. That's a reflex from spending 4 days surrounded by Philadelphia sports fans. What I meant to say, Dan, was Dan, good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic, thank you. I trust that you enjoyed your trip to spring training.
Dan, it's something that every sports fan, every baseball fan should do at least once in their lifetime, if not, make it a regular every 3, 4, or 5 years thing. It's such an amazing sports experience. It's unlike anything else I've ever done. One of the lines of conversation with my family and Ranger Amy during the last few days has been the difference between getting to see a sporting event where the outcome just really doesn't matter that much and you're just there to soak up the environment and being around the sport again after a long winter. It is, yeah, absolutely. It's an amazing time. Clearwater in particular for us was really fun because it was you were just swimming in Philadelphia sports fans. Obviously, Philadelphia coming off the Super Bowl, that was a running line of conversation with strangers and friends and family alike. So yeah, it was an amazing experience for a Philadelphia sports fan. And I will say that winning the Super Bowl took some of the sting out of the Phillies getting eliminated by the Mets in the playoffs last year. That is for sure.
I was going to go to spring training several years ago with my son Casey. And that was probably going to be the last time, probably for a while, that we had the chance to do like a father-son thing like that together. Had the whole trip planned, tickets bought, airfare, our flights booked, our hotels booked. And then there was some virus going around and it all got canceled. So we didn't go.
Well,
Well,
I mean, it's interesting that you say that because this trip that we took as a Caputo family, and this was discussed on the episode, was meant to happen 5 years ago. It was meant to happen. Same scenario, tickets purchased, everything all lined up. My sister-in-law Jody is a master organizer and had the whole thing, all planned out. And same situation. Virus hit and trip canceled, and it took till now to be able to sort out the logistics to make it happen.
well, one of the games we were going to see there, we were going to see three games in three different cities, and one of them was the Phillies in Clearwater. So we could have run into each other.
That would have been wild. It is a beautiful ballpark. Clearwater, the Baycare ballpark there is just an incredible place to see a baseball game. Like it's a really good baseball experience. And then the town, we stayed in Clearwater Beach at a Verbo, which I guess is like an Airbnb. Went for a run a couple of times on the beach. We went out to some fun restaurants and just sort of hung out at the place. It's an incredible experience, and I hope it's one that every baseball fan gets to have. And I would really recommend. I've been to Arizona a number of times with Ranger Amy, and it's fun. I mean, it's great to go see spring training regardless of what team you're seeing, but being there with fans of your team is a special fun experience. I didn't realize quite how much fun it was going to be. I thought it was going to feel just like Arizona, but because I haven't been to Philly spring training in more than 30 years. It's been a long time.
Well, it sounds like you had a great time and
We did.
the weather cooperated and led to this podcast episode. And let's keep that going. Spring training talk with our stumper. So there have been many different cities that have hosted spring training. Included in those cities, there's been spring training on a number of different islands. But this is a podcast primarily about minor league baseball brand identities. So our studio Simon Stumper today asks, on which of these islands did a minor league team once have spring training? Okay, was it A, Maui, B, Catalina, or C, Galveston? Do you tell you what states those islands are in?
Well, I know obviously Maui's in Hawaii.
Right?
Catalina is just off the coast of San Diego, I believe, in Southern California.
Actually, Los Angeles.
Oh, it's off of Los Angeles. I thought it was farther south than that.
It's a
And
little
then,
south of Los Angeles, maybe more like off Long Beach.
regardless, in California. And then Galveston is in Texas.
Okay.
I'm trying to do some sussing here, Dan. I'm trying to pull it at any thread that might lead me to the correct answer rather than just taking a stab.
But let me give you just a little bit more information.
Okay.
The two that are not the correct answer
Yeah.
were home to Major League spring training, but only
Ah,
one of these was home to minor league spring training and not Major League spring training.
huh.
I don't know that that helps or hurts.
I can see Major League spring training happening in Galveston, Texas. I would think that Maui would be expensive for a minor league team. I would think Catalina might also be expensive for a minor league team. So I'm going to come all the way back around, Dan, and I'm going to say Galveston is where a minor league team had spring training, but I'm not at all certain about that. My head is screaming at me that it's not the right answer, but it was my first instinct, and I'm going to come all the way back around to it after settling on each of the other ones along the way.
So your answer is Galveston.
Yes, my answer is Galveston.
Well, that would make the most sense
Yeah, see,
because it does not seem like a far reach to be able to go to Galveston, Texas.
yeah,
Whereas Maui is a major reach in that the only way to get there, other than by boat, which would take you a long time, is also a long plane flight. Catalina is a little more sensible in that it is accessible by a relatively brief boat ride. I've been to Catalina, having lived in Los Angeles, and if I remember correctly, it's like a 45-minute boat ride. So that's not out of the, I think, reach of not possibility, but logically could be a place. But surprisingly, the answer is Maui.
Mm.
This is something that I knew about not because I did research on it, but because I saw this with my own eyes. I have been fortunate enough to go to Hawaii twice, once to the second time to the Big Island, but the first time to Maui, where I actually got engaged to my now wife. Have you ever heard of, on Maui, there's something called the Road to Hana?
I have heard of that. Yes.
Hana is on the other side of the island from where most people go when they go to Maui. And the road to Hana, it's got 617 curves, 56 one-lane bridges, and takes hours to drive. It's not a big island, but you must go relatively slowly for this entire drive. And it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful drive, but it's kind of, for some motorists, it's very harrowing. Like my wife said, she would have been afraid to do that drive. And we got engaged. I asked her to marry me later that night, and she was so impressed by my driving
Ah, it was
that
the clincher.
she was in love, I guess. Loved my driving, I guess. Oh, but so when we on that drive, we stopped. We got to Hana, we got out of our car, and we were walking around just somewhere. And I saw there was this field, and on a tree was a sign that said, Spring Training Home of the San Francisco Seals, 1946. And I'm thinking, what? What was a baseball team doing here? And here's the story behind it. The owner of the San Francisco Seals at that time was a man named Paul Fagan, who fell in love with Hana on a trip to Hawaii, bought 14,000 acres of land there. On that land was also a small hotel, which was part of his purchase. But at that time, Hana was a dying sugar town. Sugar cane was grown there, and it was a dying town. Nothing like the tourist destination it has since become. And he wanted to attract interest to this little hotel he bought. And so he decided he was going to bring his team, the San Francisco Seals, which, by the way, it was a Pacific Coast League team for which the DiMaggio brothers played, as well as some other notable players, but most notably Joe DiMaggio and his brothers Dom and Vince, all three of whom played Major League Baseball as well. And so Paul Fagan announced that he was going to have spring training in Hana brought sports writers with him and other, I guess, dignitaries. They wrote about it, made a big deal about it. It made headlines that a minor league baseball team was having spring training in Hana, Hawaii. And it attracted interest and it served its purpose, but he only did it that 1 year. So that's the story of spring training in Hana, Hawaii.
I guess they didn't play a lot of games against other minor league teams.
As far as I know, and I did some research into this to find out about that, I don't think they played against any other minor league teams.
Okay.
Back then, spring training was more about getting in shape than it was getting ready for the season. Right, like right now, players, when they arrive at spring training, they're already in top-notch state.
Right.
They're all working out over the winter to get stronger, to nurse injuries or strengthen so that they don't get injured. But back in those days, most, if not all, baseball players had winter jobs because they didn't, unless you were Babe Ruth or somebody like that, they all had winter jobs. They were working at auto dealerships and insurance agencies and things like that. And so for a lot of them, they're sitting around all winter and they're not working out and they needed spring training to get in shape. So, and also Catalina, let's talk about Catalina for a second. There's a lot going on in the village of, I believe it's called Avalon on Catalina. There's a lot there. There are hotels, not big like high-rise hotels, but inns and things like that, and restaurants and shops and stuff like that. It's a vibrant scene there, but the great majority of the island is undeveloped. But that island was purchased by Philip Wrigley, the owner at that time of the Chicago Cubs. We all know about Wrigley Field. That's named after Philip Wrigley, who owned them. He bought the whole island, and he decided he was going to have a spring training there. And they had spring training on Catalina Island for 30 years.
Wow. Dan, I have a question. I have an island-based trivia question for you before I let you get out of here. You ready?
Yes. Hit me.
On 2 of the 50 United States, more than half of the population lives on islands. One of them, obviously, is Hawaii. Can you name the other state in which more than half the population lives on an island or islands?
Well, the 2 that come to mind are Florida, because you've got the Keys, but there's a lot of people that live on the peninsula, so I can't believe it's Florida. You've got Alaska, but where you don't have much population overall, but I can't believe there's I don't know of there being a lot of islands there, and the biggest cities I know are not islands. So what else nothing's even coming to mind as far as more than half of the population.
Dan, I'll give it to you. It is New York.
Oh, because of Long Island? And Manhattan's an island?
According to the Google, Dan, because I heard this and I looked it up after I heard it because I thought it was fun. According to the Google, 50.8% of New York's population live on islands.
Manhattan's an island, so that one helps as well. How many people? Ask the Google how many people live in Manhattan.
1.6 million.
There's only 1.6 million people on the island of Manhattan?
That's what the Google says.
Keep in mind, you also have Staten Island. That's an island.
Right.
So,
Long Island, Staten Island, Manhattan.
Well, okay. You know what? That's very interesting. I had no idea. I would like to know how many people who have not now heard that question would get that one right. I'm going to ask some people and I'll get back to you and let you know.
That is fun party trivia right there. Dan, thank you again. As always, this has been fun, and we'll see you again next week.
Looking forward to it. See you then.